Hey, it's Angela.
Hey, it's Richie here, fan of Football 813. It's the final weekend of the NFL season. Lots of really good games. You know, the playoffs are they start next week, and there's still a lot of playoff spots up for grabs. And in fact, of the 12 total seedings for the playoffs, only one is actually set, and that is the Saints. They have clinched the number one overall seed in the NFC. Which means they get home field advantage and a bye week first, and then home field advantage throughout the playoffs. But all the other spots are completely up for grabs, and in fact, depending on how some games go, a team that is in the playoffs at this moment could be out by tomorrow evening. So,
a lot of tomorrow's games is what it's going to be in the playoffs.
I mean, there's a lot of games tomorrow that will determine who gets in the playoffs, where they get into the play, like which seeding, which can mean a lot between traveling and all this stuff and home field. So,
and if I sound off, I have a cold. I don't know if it sounds like it, but I have a cold.
And if I seem distracted, there's a college game going on.
There's literally a college game
right behind you guys. Just turn your head. Just turn around. You can see it.
Which one is this? Nevada?
This is the Arizona Bowl
Arizona.
For college football. But this video is for the last week in the NFL. We're gonna just get into these picks. We'll start with, they're all Sunday games this weekend, which is good because we forgot to record till Saturday. So if there was one on Thursday, we would have missed it.
Yeah.
All right, the first game, the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. The Dolphins were eliminated last week from the playoffs, so they will not go in. I'm still going to give the edge to the Dolphins. I think they are a little bit better. Plus, I mean, there is some pride here. They're a 7-8 team. You don't want to, if you're not going to make the playoffs, you want to finish with a winning record. If you can't finish with a winning record, you definitely don't want a losing record. So if they're 7-8 and they win, they'll at least be 8-8, which is a motivating factor enough for people that are competitive. Plus, the quarterback for the Bills is the rookie Josh Allen, and he's not good. I keep saying it all year, and he keeps sucking all year, and then people are like, hey, he doesn't suck, but he does. All right, so Dolphins, I think, win.
I'm going for Miami.
Detroit Lions and Green Bay Packers. Both out of the playoffs. We're gonna go with the Packers here. Aaron Rodgers is good.
Packers?
Yep.
I'll go for Packers.
All right. So the first significant game of the day, the Jets and the New England Patriots. Now the Patriots have won their division. They are going to be in the playoffs, but they haven't, solidified where. And if they win, they'll at least be the number 2 seed, which means they will get a first-round bye, and their first game will be a home game, which is huge. If they win and the Chargers and the Chiefs both lose, the Patriots will get the number 1 overall seed, which means a bye and then home field throughout the playoffs. So, and if they don't win, they will at least make the playoffs, but they'll have to go to the wild card weekend, which is next weekend. They'll still host a game next weekend, which means it'll be at home. But it's actually a significant game, this one. That being said, I think it's Tom Brady. It's the Patriots. They're better overall than the Jets. Now the Jets have been playing well the last few weeks, but I think the Patriots will have they have a lot of motivating factors in this one. So.
But if the Jets win, it's gonna be
an upset.
An upset? Will it be?
I mean, technically.
I'm going for the Jets.
All right, the Carolina Panthers and New Orleans Saints. This is interesting. Carolina, they were eliminated last week from the playoffs. The Saints, they're the only, like I said in the beginning, they're the only team that has solidified a seed. They probably rest their players as well because they don't want people hurt because they have no reason. They already have a bye week next week, and their games throughout the playoffs are at home. But that being said, too, Carolina, Cam Newton, he went out a few weeks ago with an injury, and they've had their backup. And I just think whether the Saints are resting people or not, I think the Saints are better. So I just think the Saints will win.
I am going for Carolina.
So the next game, the Cowboys and the Giants. I'm trying to think if this... Because the Dallas has already clinched their division. They're going to be in the playoffs. I don't think this even will affect their seeding either. And the Giants are already out of the playoffs. So I'm not sure how much Dallas will really do. If they're gonna be playing in the, because they win a division, they're gonna have at least one home game, which will be the wild card, and they don't have a shot at getting a bye week. So if I'm not mistaken, their seeding might not change. I'd have to look at it more, because I think they're the number 4 seed, and I think the Bears might be right above them. But I actually don't think they can move. And like I said, because they have a playoff game the next week, they may rest a lot of people to not hurt them, because they won't have the benefit of a bye week if somebody does get hurt. That said, I still think Cowboys probably win. This will be kind of interesting, though. It depends on what Dallas does.
I'll go for Cowboys.
All right, the Falcons and the Bucs both are out of it, the playoffs.
That's sad.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Atlanta's played a little bit better, but you know what? Whatever. I'll go with the Bucs. They want to end.
Going with Bucs, yeah.
They want to end on a good note. Jacksonville and Houston. All right, this is pretty significant for Houston. Jacksonville's out of the playoffs. Houston is in the playoffs, but if they have the potential, if the Patriots lose and Houston wins, then Houston will get the number 2 seed, which means a bye week and a home game. If Houston loses, then the winner of the Colts and Titans game, which we will get to, which is the Sunday night game. If Houston loses and the winner of the whoever wins the Colt-Titans games will not only make the playoffs, but they'll win the division. And Houston then drops from now being the number 3 seed, I think, to like the 5th seed.
If they lose?
Yeah, potentially. Actually, if they lose, then if they lose, then they will drop out of the seeding, because whoever wins the Colts-Titans game will win. Like, whoever wins the Colts-Titans game is going to the playoffs, period. And if Houston loses, whoever wins the game will win the division then, which drops Houston from potentially going from a number 2 or 3 seed to a wild card team and having to travel. And so it's the difference between a bye week and a not bye week, and a home game and a not home game. So this is really, really big. But I'm going to go with Houston winning. Jacksonville hasn't been very good this year, so.
I'm still going to go for the Jaguars.
The Chargers and Denver, this is huge for the Chargers. The Chargers are in the playoffs, but if they win and the Chiefs lose, the Chargers will actually have the number 1 overall seed, which means they get a bye week and home field advantage. If they lose, they should still get the 5th seed, which I think is where they are at now. So they won't really move, but they want to win and potentially win the division and get that seed.
So Broncos don't get anything.
No, the Broncos are out of the playoffs. So I'm gonna go with the Chargers to win.
All right, I'll go for the Chargers.
Oakland and Kansas City, same thing for Kansas City. If they win and the Chargers lose, Kansas City gets the number 1 seed. If they lose and the Chargers win, then they drop to number 5. Or if they lose and the Chargers lose and the Patriots win and the Patriots get the number 1 seed, there's a whole lot of factors, possibilities. So the Chiefs have a lot to play for, but I'm gonna go with them. Oakland's out of it, but I'm gonna go with the Chiefs to win.
I'll go for the Chiefs.
All right, the Niners and the Rams. Again, the Rams are in. But there's a potential that because they're the number 2 seed right now in the NFC. If they win, number 2 seed, yes, it's called seeding, like a seed.
Oh.
So if they win, they will have the number 2 spot, which means a first round bye and at least 1 home game. If they lose and the Bears win, the Bears jump them, and the Rams go to the number, I think, 3 spot. It should be the 3 spot, and then which means they will have to play next weekend. So this is a big game, but the 49ers are not good. So I'm going to go with the Rams to win.
I'll go for the Rams.
I don't know if you guys are following all of this playoff stuff, but this is, it makes it really interesting the last weekend. All right, the Bears in Minnesota. Now, this is pretty significant for both teams. The Bears, like I mentioned a second ago with the Rams, if the Bears win and the Rams lose, the Bears get the number 2 seed. If the Bears lose, then they'll stay in their spot. However, the Vikings, they actually have the number 6 seed in the wild card right now. And if they lose, and the Eagles, who we'll get to, if they lose and the Eagles win, the Vikings are dropped from the playoffs, and the Eagles will get in.
Wow.
But if the Vikings win, the Vikings are in the playoffs. They should have that number 6 seed then. So this is significant. The Bears are in the playoffs anyway, but it's significant for their seeding possibilities. And the Vikings they don't have to win to get in, but if they win it clinches it. You know what I mean? If they lose, they have to hope the Eagles end up losing their game. But if they win, it clinches it. And the Bears want to win to get that bye week. So this is actually, both teams have a lot on the line for this game. So that's a really big one. This is kind of tough. The Bears have been playing really well all season long, but Minnesota has that they have it.
So the Bears already are.
They're in, yeah.
So I know you usually pick first, but I'm gonna go for the Vikings so they can get in.
Yeah.
Without worrying about if some other team wins or loses.
Yeah.
At least for me, but I.
No, I mean I was kind of leaning that way, but I'm gonna go with Chicago. Chicago is a really, really good team.
It'll be good competition.
Yeah. Bengals in Pittsburgh. Bengals are out. Pittsburgh, they actually were in it last week. They're out of it now. If they win and the Ravens lose, Pittsburgh gets in and wins their division. This is tough.
But the Bengals are just.
The Bengals are out, but the Bengals are a decent team, and of course, they're kind of rivals, and I mean they're in the same division. The Bengals are going to want to keep them out. But I'll go with Pittsburgh here. Pittsburgh to win.
Oh, the Steelers.
Yeah. Even if the Steelers win, it doesn't clinch a playoff spot. They still might miss it, but if they lose, they definitely will be out. All right, the Cardinals and Seattle. Arizona's way out. Seattle already clinched a playoff spot. In fact, I don't think they can even move up from where they're at. So they might rest some people. They'll be the 5th seed. Because they're right above Minnesota and the Eagles. But actually, it might. I'd have to look at their record. But either way, Seattle's already in. And there's no bye week possibility here. So, but that being said, Seattle's better than Arizona. So I'm going to go Seattle.
I'll go for the Seahawks.
All right, a significant game here. The Eagles and the Redskins. The Redskins were eliminated last weekend. Like I said a few minutes ago, if the Eagles win and the Vikings lose, the Eagles will be in the playoffs, and I think the Eagles will win. I don't know if they'll be in the playoffs and based on my picks, that means Philadelphia will get into the playoffs. But at the very least, with this game, I say Eagles win.
I'm going Redskins.
I mean, it's not a bad pick, really. It's about even. The Browns have been playing great. They were technically eliminated last week from the playoffs. The Ravens, they have the number 1 defense in the NFL. Lamar Jackson has been playing really well. He's a rookie quarterback, and he's been playing really well. If the Ravens win, they clinch the division and keep Pittsburgh out of the playoffs entirely. If the Ravens lose and Pittsburgh wins, then the Ravens actually fall out of the playoffs. And this is tough, man. Cleveland's actually good this year. They're 7-1.
You make it seem like.
I mean, they haven't had a winning season in 15 years. So they're historically terrible.
So Cleveland's actually good this year.
Yeah, they're historically terrible. There's a reason why. I mean,
sorry, Cleveland fans.
Well, Asa, their rookie quarterback was the number 1 overall pick, which means I know you don't know what that means, but the draft goes by the worst record you have, the higher your draft pick. So they had the worst record last year, which means this is why they had the number 1 pick, and then it goes down from there. It's to keep it even, so that it's to keep it.
So the worst player gets the number 1.
The worst team gets the number 1, gets the higher pick.
So it's almost beneficial to be a bad team.
Well, the idea is for parity in NFL. They don't want teams like the Patriots. Like if the Patriots win a Super Bowl, they would just pick the best players every year and just stay good. That's the idea anyway. Now it doesn't really work all the time because the Browns are always terrible, and then they pick good players, and the good players end up burning out, and they just remain terrible. And it's like, was the player that bad, or was the organization just that bad, and they were just put in a shitty spot, and they didn't succeed? Like,
well, if they keep doing bad, is it really the players or the coaching? It's like
usually the organization. That's what I'm saying. It's
like,
if they're that bad for that long, it's an organizational thing.
That's what I would think.
And that sucks for the players because they're just being thrown in with shit players, other terrible players, or at least terrible coaching and whatever. And then their career is effectively ruined before.
Maybe the Browns need a new coach.
Well, they fired their coach earlier this year, but they've been bad forever. Like they fire people. It's not like they've had the same coach for 15 years. They fire them all the time. So. Like, that being said, I'm going to go with, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to pick the Browns to win. It's 2 rookie quarterbacks going at it, actually. So I'm going to go with the Browns here.
Well, if it's about even.
I would say so.
More or less.
I would say.
Mainly to give it competition, I'll go for the Ravens.
All right, the final game of the night. And the reason why it's a Sunday night game is the Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans. This basically is a playoff game. It's a regular season game, but whoever wins this game will get in, and whoever loses will be out. Period. Now, like I said, if what
they do this in college?
Like I said, if what happens with Houston earlier in the day with the Texans, if the Texans lose, this game is for way, way more than just the playoff spot. This game will be to win the division, which means that first game at home, or that first game, even though it'll be a wild card spot, they won't have the bye week, but they'll play that first game at home. Whoever wins this one.
Are they in the same division?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because they are the same division with Houston, and whoever.
No, with each other.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If they're all in the same division with Houston. These two are with Houston, and that's why I'm saying like if Houston loses, and then whoever wins this will win the division.
Oh.
Because it would go to tiebreakers and stuff.
And what if Houston wins?
Well, if Houston wins, they'll just win it. The division. Period.
Because they're already.
Yeah, because right now Houston has 10 wins, and these two teams have 9, right? So if Houston wins, they'll get to 11, and these can't get to 11. But if Houston loses and gets to 10, both these teams actually hold tiebreakers over Houston. And because TJ and I were actually looking at the schedule earlier.
Did Houston lose to one of these teams?
Because they played them both twice, and I like one of them I think they lost to twice, and then one of them I think the other would have the tiebreaker because of like a division record. Because it goes head-to-head first, and if they split games or whatever, then it goes to, like, the conference record and division record. And there's a whole tons of tiebreakers. There's actually, like, a list which goes to, like, at some point how many touchdowns a team scored versus the other team. Like, if, like, everything was, like, tied, like, you know, they had the same record, the same conference record, the same division record, then they look at, like, common opponents. Then like I said, eventually, I don't think it's ever gotten that far down.
Are you guys getting this?
Yeah, right.
No, I'm teasing, but
no, but it's just interesting because it's like college football doesn't go that far.
That's what I would say. This seems actually a little bit more.
Yeah,
fair
even with college
strategy than college is like who the hell feels like.
I'm saying
should
even
be in the top.
Well, not that. The conference, the college when they determine their conference and division winners, it's not by a ranking. It is actually by the wins and losses. But I'm saying at one point, at some point, if there's a thing where they're tied, then instead of going to these other statistics, it actually then eventually will go to the ranking.
You know what I was going to say to that?
What?
As far as like the wins and losses?
What?
How come like undefeated?
Yeah. But I'm
That's
saying because the NFL doesn't have rankings and shit and whatever. But so eventually and I just remember I was reading the list one time and it goes to like how many touchdowns they've scored and how many this and that. And eventually, like if everything is tied, the very last one is a coin toss. And I don't think it's ever actually gotten that far.
I hope not.
I'm not sure exactly. It'd be interesting to see exactly how far down the list they have gotten, but I mean they've gotten pretty deep, but usually not.
So this game, which
that being said, this game is huge. They're even. They're good. They're. I'm gonna go with the Colts. The Colts offensive line, most of the season, like there was a stretch of 4 straight games where they didn't allow a sack, which is great. It was really, and with that kind of offensive line in the playoffs, and they got a good quarterback with Andrew Luck, and they have a decent running game like that could be significant.
So this should be a good game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for the Titans just to.
Yeah.
We like to compete.
So, a lot of interesting stuff here. Once these are all determined, we will then come back next week to pick the few the wild card games and the playoffs games in the future.
So there's not any games next week at all?
Well, the wild card, the playoffs.
Oh, so there are playoffs next week?
Yeah, the playoffs.
Not everyone gets a bye week.
Not everyone gets a bye week.
Okay, it's just...
No.
Okay.
Because that's the significant of earning that.
Well, no, I didn't know if like everyone gets a bye week and then the other, they get like another, an extra bye week or something.
No, next week there will be some playoff games. 4 of them. Probably 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. So that's usually how they do it.
And a lot of that, we wouldn't know the schedules because it depends on this.
Right, because nothing is set. We don't even know where they're going to be. Like, we don't know some of it, the spots we don't know who, and we definitely don't know where, like, any of it's going to be. So, because, like, next week, it could be in New England, or New England could have a bye, and a game could be in Houston, or Indianapolis, or even Tennessee, or whatever, depending on what happens with these games. So, those are our picks, the final regular season. There's a lot of interesting stuff happening tomorrow with these games. It's entertaining stuff. Like I said, a lot of playoffs right here coming down to it. So, anyway, we figured it out, it's kind of fitting though. We started our first regular season, video sitting on this couch here, and our last regular season video will end on this couch. And then we'll see you guys next week with the playoffs.
See ya.
Peace.